Declare the meeting open, and by this advising, by being present at the meeting, members of the public consent to the city recording and live streaming their image and or voice. Deputy Mayor, please welcome us to country.
Thank you, Worship. I'll begin by acknowledging my elders past and present. Ngalak yang kuru ngalan nois nejin nunga buja. Nunga majerba nejin and akwabarak nunga buja kurulong. From the beginning of time to the end, this is Noongar country. Noongar people have been graceful keepers of our nation for many, many years. Look, listen, understand, and embrace all of the elements of Noongar country that is forever our home. Hello and welcome. My heart is happy as we gather on country and meeting here on Noongar country this evening.
It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all here, and before commencing proceedings, I too would like to acknowledge that we come together tonight on the traditional lands of the Noongar people and pay our respects to elders past and present. Could I call upon Councillor Rouse to do the dedication?
Thank you, Worship. May we, the elected members of the City of Kwinana, have the wisdom to consider all matters before us with due consideration, integrity and respect for the Council Chamber. May the decisions made be in good faith and always in the best interest of the greater Kwinana community that we serve.
Attendance, apologies, leave of absence previously approved is nil. Public question time is nil. Petitions from councillors, presentations. There are no deputations. 7.1 minutes of the special council meeting held on the 11th of May. Is there any additional information? Questions, councillors? Someone move that way. Moved, Councillor Atkins, seconded, Councillor Sargent. Either councillors wish to speak? Speak against? Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Declarations of interest? Nil. Request for leave of absence? There's nothing on item 10, 11, 12 or 13. Item 14.1, Bertram and City Centre Place Plans. Is there any additional information?
Nothing further, sir.
Questions, councillors? Councillor Penny.
Thank you very much. Just on item 4.1 with the city place plans, in terms of looking at around the city centre and the urban canopy, the place plan notes looking at the urban canopy and the vegetation that will provide bird life food sources. Just in that, I'm just interested what consideration will be given to, I guess, looking at the sort of iconic treescape of Kwinana in sort of a traditional sense, where we have a lot of Australian native, not necessarily always West Australian native, but Australian native trees, versus say a more modern approach to urban landscaping, which has sort of introduced deciduous species, some of which are food sources for bird life, but are also sort of not endemic to Australia. What consideration will be given to that in the place plans? Thank you.
It's probably more of that one. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I mean, the place plans, they don't go to that level of detail, and it's the type of thing we will figure out as we progress through delivering the place plan. But presumably the question is because we're also doing the precinct plan work now, which is the Robbo's Way predominantly, or that connection from the marketplace through to the civic centre area. A selection of trees hasn't been made, but because of the, now I'm not very good at saying this, a Polyphophorus shoholbora, or however you say that, we do now tend to go more towards the native tree because of the risk of that fungus getting into the European or international trees. So it's not an absolute that they'll be natives, and it will come down to the art approach we take in that particular project and the design we come up with the landscape architect to meet the intent of the precinct plan for that particular part of the project, but it's more likely to go towards the native because of that risk to the tree health. But that's only one part of the whole area that the place plan covers. So as we progress, there'll be opportunities to do different theming throughout that area.
One follow-up question. People are very sort of passionate about trees in Kwinana. Will there be scope for consultation or community communication around that? I say that because I've had community members speak who said, hey, I really want to see more natives being planted in new developments.
Through the Mayor, look, more broadly, we are moving very much towards natives, and we've got $1.8 million from the federal government to progress our tree canopy, and that is predominantly native, 100% Australian native, and predominantly WA native, and it's mostly because of the shothole borer. Certainly there's been interest in that deciduous tree theming in our streets in the past, but because of that risk to the long-term health of those trees, we are preferencing the natives. So you'll certainly see that that's the way we go. This first season of planting coming up, starting Monday, I believe, or Tuesday, you'll see that we start to roll natives out.
Any other questions? Someone like to move that item? Moved Councillor Sargent, seconded Councillor Wood. Councillor Sargent.
Thank you, Mayor Feasy. I am very moved by the in-depth work the city's team has done to empower, engage, communicate, collaborate and build these amazing place plans. There are two wonderful staff members that will be place leaders in this going forwards, but to see a body of work that shows that the city wants to get it right, the city wants to communicate with our population to go, this is your place. There's an age-old saying, you don't tell someone what you need, you ask them and build it together. And this is a true example of that. So I just commend you for your fantastic work and recommend that the rest of my councillors support actively this amazing opportunity for our community. Thank you.
Councillor Wood.
I concur absolutely with what Councillor Sargent says, and the staff members are exceptional, and the contribution from the community is absolutely taken on board. So they should be proud of themselves.
Anyone speak against? Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. There's nothing on item 15, 16, 17.1, parking restrictions on Price Parkway, Bertram. Any questions? Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Your Worship. I did ask a question prior to the meeting, but I just want to ask it publicly so we can just everyone share the answer with everyone. Mainly in relation to the number of, signs that are referenced in the plan to go onto the street. To kind of indicate where you can't park. Could the city speak to, the rationale behind the number and how they're kind of placed, in that plan to try and deter the behaviour that's, related to this?
Through the Mayor, you threw the word behaviour in at the end, and I guess it's quite common around schools for there to be traffic issues. We have a whole lot of traffic arrive all at the same time, particularly the afternoon pickup rather than the drop-off, which is more spread out. And particularly around primary schools, because we tend to have more by car drop-off and pick-up at primary schools. So it results in parking everywhere, to often the frustration of the residents that live nearby schools. So we end up with cars parking on verges. We end up with cars parking in places where you can't pull out of your driveway, or that it's unsafe to pull out of intersections because they block sight lines. So when we get a call from a school, I think in this case it was the PNC had contacted us because they had looked at a few options and they had noted some increasing safety issues. Often the intervention need is for us to put some parking restrictions in. So part of the restrictions are restrictions that apply already. So you already can't park on the neighbour's verge, but it happens at schools, and we don't like to enforce that unless we have signage in to make it very clear. The first part of your question was about the number of signs. One of the challenges we have with signage is to get the right number of signs to ensure that if you are infringed, you can't feel like you had no opportunity to know you couldn't do what you were doing. So it was very obvious that what you're doing was not allowed. So the drawing shows the yellow line marking. That does wear down in time. And then enough signs so that it's not hidden around a corner. As you approach to look at where you might park, it's very clear that that area is not right. It does look like a lot on the drawing, but I think you'll find in real life it looks like a sensible amount.
And perhaps as a follow-up question, there was a consultation that occurred, I guess, with the school, with residents who live on this stretch. And through that consultation, there was no concerns raised with, I guess, the number or their placement at this stage. Oh, sorry.
Again, through the Mayor, yes, we consult, and I'll just read in the consultation section. So the residents directly across the road, they do have those signs either on their property or are limited in what they can do because of those signage, are in support. And this is normal. I don't think I've seen a situation where that has not been the case, because there's usually a frustration, because if you wanted to grow grass, you wanted to put retic in, it's a challenge because you have a lot of cars parking on your verge, they break your sprinklers, so they're usually very keen to have those problems resolved.
Thank you.
I think it is interesting that the school's been there nearly 20 years, and the numbers at the school are decreasing, that the need for such excessive, necessity to put in parking restrictions is as high now as what it was in the past. So it's just interesting that we've now decided that it's an issue after 20 years. Anyway, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. With the amendments and the changes that are going through, and post the consultation period and implementation of the signage, will the enforcement period be instantaneous, or will there be a period of education and a grace period of notification for those that infringe, to be able to have the opportunity to say that this is a council's made decision as a last resort because of your comments, Your Worship, around the period of time that it has taken and the length of time that they've had to have time to adjust, just in consideration to the impact on households and communities on the living circumstances as it stands at the moment. Is there any considerations for a period of notification around when that enforcement will, whether it be immediate impact or any delay?
Through you, Mayor Facey. Thank you for the question. Certainly when we're changing any sort of regulatory framework or bringing in more controls, transition periods appropriate to deal with informing people so they become used to the change, but also being seen to be there and making people aware of the change. So handing out notices, just not infringements, but notices to tell people and remind people that the signs are up and we're paying attention, and to transition through to a more effective framework so that we get compliance by choice rather than by enforcement.
Any other questions? Councillor Sargent.
Not related to the meeting, but may I please close that door with the background noise? Is that okay? Oh.
Technically no, because it is an open meeting. Someone like to move that item? Move, Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Rouse. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Rouse.
Just briefly, Worship, this is pretty much a no-brainer. Parking at Bertram Primary School has been a constant frustration for residents and parents for a very long time, as you know, and as you rightly say, it's surprising nowadays that we're implementing this. But I commend the Bertram P&C for their proactive approach. They've obviously seen a need, and I think maybe that's coming down to nowadays parents and caregivers who are picking up the children are less likely to do the right thing, whereas beforehand they may have been seeking out proper parking areas, and whereas nowadays some people feel the entitlement of just parking anywhere. So I think this is a good approach, and I thank the city for recommending this.
Anyone speak against? Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. The next three items to do with road names, so I propose we move them all in block. Anyone moved? Anyone want to speak to any of those items?
It's just 17th for it's just got Florence instead of Apsley.
So 17.4, everyone saw the memo that it should say Florence, not Apsley. So someone move those three items. With that move, Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Acker. Either councillors wish to speak? Speak against? Put that motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. 18.1, appointment of Audit and Risk and Improvement Committee presiding member and deputy presiding member. Is there any additional information?
Nothing further, sir.
Questions? Someone like to move that way? Moved Councillor Sargent, seconded Deputy Mayor. Either councillors wish to speak?
Yes, please.
Councillor Sargent.
Thank you, Mayor Feasy. I just want to, as someone that has sat on this committee, want to express to council how wonderful Gay McMath was and how she was a driving force in wanting to ensure that the City of Kwinana had the best practice platform for risks, especially in the financial background, and just thank her greatly for all the work that she has done and contributed to the audit and risk space for Kwinana, and to welcome Jane Cutler, and I look forward to working with her in the future. So highly recommend we support this. Thank you.
Anyone speak against? Put the motion to vote. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. 18.2 monthly financial report, March 26. Any additional information?
Nothing further, sir.
Questions? Someone like to move that way? Moved Councillor Sargent, seconded Councillor Wood. Whether the councillors wish to speak?
No, thank you.
Speak against? Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. 18.3, local law adoption, local government property and local law 2026. Is there any additional information?
Nothing further, sir.
Questions, councillors? Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Your Worship. My question is in relation to the community engagement portion of the report. That section speaks to, I guess, public notice and the like following this vote. It also goes on to say, thereby ensuring that the community is adequately informed and afforded the opportunity to participate in the legislative process. Could the city speak to, from this moment onwards, if there's endorsement, what is that opportunity to participate in the legislative process? Just not, when I read it, it didn't seem so accurate with where we're at in the process. So, yeah, maybe others thought the same.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the process, once it's approved by council, it then goes through to the state government for the final adoption. It then gets notified in the Gazettal, and then it gets notified through our public channel, our social media channels and that.
Just a follow-up.
So it's basically informing people. It's not really engagement as such. It's informing people, because the engagement is a wide spectrum.
Okay. I was just wondering, perhaps those folks that they were part of the consultation that's referred to in the report, maybe when I read it, it suggested maybe there was another opportunity for to have a say, so to speak. So
once this is done, it's put into effect.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions? Someone like to move that on?
Okay, you need to read. Before you do that, you have to read.
Okay.
Yeah, so you've got to read purpose and effect.
And number 2, or just the first one?
Read the purpose, and then you've got to read the effect.
Okay, so that's required by the Local Government Act to read the purpose and effect, to regulate, so the purpose to regulate the care, control and management of all property of local government with the exception of thoroughfares, effect, to repeal the Town of Kwinana local government property local law and to control the use of local government property. Some activities are permitted only under a permit or under determination, and some activities are restricted or prohibited. Offences are created for inappropriate behaviour in or on local government property. And number 2? Number 2A, adopts by absolute majority the local government property local law 2026 as detailed in attachment 18.3.1 in accordance with section 3.12 of the Local Government Act 1995. And B, authorise the CEO, Chief Executive Officer to publish the local government property local law 2026 in the Government Gazette and carry out all other statutory requirements. Would someone like to move that item? Move, Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Acker. Any councillors wish to speak? Speak against? Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. 18.4, quarterly performance report, strategic community plan and corporate business plan quarter 3. Is there any additional information?
No, nothing further, Mr. Mayor.
Questions, councillors? Councillor Sargent.
On attachment page 165, could the city speak to the utilisation and impact of the mobile CCTV trailers now that we have a second one? What is this doing for our community? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the mobile CCTV trailers have been extremely effective. They get deployed by the rangers, they get deployed by the waste team based upon where there are particular hotspots of activity occurring, and we want to be able to monitor, regulate, control. WA Police also will recommend as to where they should be located based upon various activities. Or we may get contacted by various groups, such as we've had some from rugby clubs as well. Sorry, football clubs. So the trailers are extremely effective. They act as a deterrent when they've been placed out there, and they help with illegal activities and being able to monitor those. So very useful.
I think one recent example was there's a problematic property in a suburb where the camera was actually parked in a nearby reserve. As a consequence, the footage that was obtained by that camera has been able to bring an item to court, where normally many residents in an area would have to go witness, but in this situation, because the city's CCTV is actually of such a high quality that the residents won't actually be required to stand up in court, that the evidence from the CCTV was enough for them to take that to court. So as an example.
Fantastic.
Any other questions? Someone like to move that item? Moved Councillor Rouse, seconded Councillor Penny. Either councillors wish to speak?
Just briefly again, Your Worship, I think this is a wonderful document to highlight the progress that the city is making and details exactly what we're up to at a quarterly performance level. And I think anyone who starts to complain about what they actually get for their rates, this is a wonderful document to actually direct them to, so if they bother to read it or not. Thank you.
Councillor Penny?
Yep, I second Councillor Rouse's comments, and I'm sorry, Councillor Sargent, if I stole your thunder there if you had...
No, that's okay.
Okay. No, that's fine. That's all I needed to say. Sorry. Thank you.
Anyone speak against? Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. 18.5, proposed community garden development, change of vesting of reserve 24070 and subsequent disposition by way of lease of lot M1041 on deposited plan 163305 to the Kwinana Community Gardens Incorporated. Is there any additional information?
Nothing further, Mr. Mayor.
Questions? Councillor Brown?
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just hoping maybe the city could speak to a bit, maybe the journey to get to this stage, and maybe that engagement with the association driving this just by virtue of kind of awareness and storytelling. Perhaps those in the chamber as well would be interested to know how this kind of exciting items come about.
Just for the minutes, the CEO's exiting the meeting at 6:32. Ms. Greaves?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. This came about a couple of years ago in connection with the Medina Residents Group identifying a need for a community garden, and sorry, I should even say an opportunity, not necessarily a need. At the time, our place leader Jenny spent a significant amount of time looking at different options with one of the representatives, Julian from the Medina Residents Group. Through that process, this block of land that's recommended now was eventually the one that they identified as the most suitable location, where it wasn't used. It's also close to the senior centre, the Medina town centre as well. So it was an ideal blank spot where there were some antisocial behaviour incidents as well. From there, the residents group and now the Medina Urban Farm Project, independently, Kwinana Community Gardens Incorporated, have developed a business plan, spent significant time looking at how they could use that land, engaging with community representatives in the area. And it's probably been a two-year journey to get to this stage. So a significant amount of engagement and excitement to deliver this project eventually.
Just for the minutes, the CEO has returned at 6:33. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Penny had a question?
Yes, I did, sorry. Just on point 4.
Sorry, can you see your microphone on?
Sorry. Yeah, just on point 4, with, sorry, just getting my here. In terms of authorise the Chief Executive Officer to negotiate and execute a lease agreement with the Kwinana Community Garden Incorporated for a period of 5 years, with the option to extend for a further 5 years, including making amendments not significant in nature. So would amendments not significant in nature, what would that look like? And say, for example, if the lease was to be terminated early, or there's some issues, would that come back to council?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Insignificant in nature would be looking at, I don't know, sorry, I'm trying to think of an example of that. It might be a spelling, a typo, slight tweaks that have been negotiated with the group as well and agreed with both parties. Was your follow-up termination?
Oh, sorry. So for example, if the lease was terminated, or there was something around the conditions of the lease that would be deemed significant in nature and would come back to council.
So anything significant in nature would come back to council for a lease agreement, absolutely.
Any other questions? Someone like to move that way? Moved Councillor Sargent, seconded Councillor Penny. Councillor Sargent.
Thank you, Mayor Feasey. I had the honour of 2 years ago sitting at a long table dinner in Medina, and I believe somehow I also got stuck doing the dishes with Jenny, but permaculture and community urban farms have amazing impacts to the community. I don't just say this as an advocate, I say this as once upon a time, I was a 19-year-old young lady that stumbled into the gates of a place called City Farm in East Perth. City Farm taught me that you can find people anywhere, you can have connection, you can learn skills and knowledge and find ways to have food and support. And the concept of permaculture and how it has grown, this is a truly golden star of an opportunity to have our community place and to have our council being prepared to support. City Farm was placed on completely degraded, toxic, heavy metal industry land. It took them 20 years of work just to get it to the point that they could grow something they were allowed to harvest. The city of Kwinana is not going here, have the dodgiest bit of something and see what you can do, and then in 20 years we'll come back and decide if we're renegotiating a lease. You are putting that in a place that gives people accessibility. You have your senior citizens centre right there. You've got your Medina Hall, like the culture, the tie-in. This is just such a beautiful, amazing, fantastic project that I am so proud to be able to be a councillor right now, to go, please endorse if you weren't going to already, and just thank every single person that has been part of this process. And to all of the people that had a dream that said, let's have this dinner, let's get these people together, that were there, I just commend you for a top-notch feasibility study, for a professional approach at something that could truly mean that there could be a 19-year-old young lady out there that doesn't know how to find her people and where to start learning how to connect community, and let's hope that's her spot. So this is amazing, and thank you so much for letting me say yes.
Councillor Penny.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Sargent. How can I add to that? All of those things as well. It's been a long journey for the community to bring this forward, and I really commend the council officers, the administration and the executive for working through. Sometimes these kinds of initiatives are quite complex. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach when you're looking at a community garden. So I thank everybody within the team and also in the community for pushing hard for this, and it's an exciting time. I thought the report and the feasibility study as well, very, very strong, very well written. And I'd just like to reiterate that the proposed urban farm is intended to be a valuable community asset, supporting local food production, sustainable education, social connection and inclusion. I think this is important, that's why I want to reread it. The Medina Urban Farm will deliver outcomes across key priority areas, including climate resilience, biodiversity restoration, community wellbeing, social inclusion and waste reduction. It supports the city's waste plan by embedding practical circular economy actions on site, composting and vermiculture, recycling and reuse initiatives, and community education, and diverting organics from landfill while building long-term low waste behaviours through local food production and farm-to-table partnerships. Wow, what an amazing initiative, and just thank you to the community who have brought this forward, and it's very relevant for what the city's doing, looking at its ongoing waste strategy, and it's a very community-focused solution. So thank you for affording us the time to celebrate that a little bit. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Penny. Anyone speak against? Councillor Acker? Put that to vote. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. 18.6, 25, 26 May budget review. Nothing further. Questions?
I just have one question. On page 62, it says Mandogolot Fire Station, various renovations and upgrades, deferred pending advice on the facility's future. Could you please clarify why there's a...
I can, because the fire station is in the road reserve in relation to the widening of Anketel Road.
So would it be moved?
So at some point the future of Mandogolot Fire Station will have to be determined, and ultimately a decision would need to be made in where it would move to. So, but currently the state government haven't committed to widening Anketel Road that far. So, but I guess it's not. It's something that will occur in the near future. So I guess that's ultimately why any unnecessary renovations aren't occurring.
And I believe it was quite a lot of money too.
Anything else to add?
Yeah, through the Mayor. The particular thing we're waiting for is confirmation on, they have something called the project case versus the ultimate project. So the ultimate will see a roundabout constructed that will require the relocation of the fire station. What we don't know is a project case. The project case will determine whether or not that roundabout is built up front, or whether they use a different intersection. If there's a different intersection, it's highly likely we won't need to move the fire station for many years, and very highly likely that could be 20 to 30 years, if not more, in which case we'll treat it as if it's semi-permanent. We'll go back to doing normal works. But if it's in the project case that the roundabout goes in, it could be that we need to relocate within 5 years, in which case we wouldn't want to invest a lot of money.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Someone like to move that item? Moved Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Wood. Either councillors wish to speak?
No, thank you.
Speak against? Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. 18.7, the council payment for the month ended 30 April. Any additional information or questions? No? Would someone like to move that way? Moved Councillor Sargent, seconded Councillor Acker. Either councillors wish to speak?
No, thank you.
Speak against? Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. 18.8, proposed disposition by way of lease, Everyday Independence Proprietary Limited, Council Room 2 and Office 1 to 5 within the Zone Youth Centre. Any additional information or questions? Someone like to move that way? Moved Councillor Sargent, seconded Councillor Wood. Either councillors wish to speak? Councillor Sargent.
Thank you, Mayor Feasy. I just want to say that again, it's fantastic to see the city continually, when we do have vacant spaces, you are coming with fantastic civically community-focused support organisations to put in place for our community, that our rooms and the places that you have for connection are being leased to people that are going to benefit, grow and support our community. So I just want to say a big thank you to everyone in the city's teams that has any say or thought into this, and to the CEO for driving this forwards, that we can continue to find ways to offer supports to our community and to build and grow access. So go team, thank you.
Who seconded it? Got Councillor Wood.
It's Everyday Independence offers a wide range of services for those in our community with disabilities, and therefore a longer term lease will benefit our whole community in the long run. Thank you.
Anyone speak against? Put the item to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. 19.1, notice of motion of which previous notice has been given. 19.1, Councillor Miller has moved a motion of an optional larger general waste bin. Councillor Miller, would you like to move the item? Do we have a seconder? Seconded Councillor Rouse. Councillor Miller, did you like to speak to your motion?
I would, Your Worship, thank you. My fellow councillors and member of the public. At the 2025 local government election, residents across the city raised the capacity of the current 140-litre general waste bin as a consistent reoccurring concern. At the outcome of the election, which is the reason I was placed in this chamber, reflects that the community wanted someone to bring this conversation to the table. Tonight I'm doing exactly that. Now I want to address some of the arguments I expect will be put against this motion tonight. Firstly, some have called this motion symbolic, and I believe that characterisation fundamentally misrepresents and undermines what this motion is and where it came from. I have not pulled this motion out of thin air in hopes of winning an election. Like many of my campaign commitments, this is something that was already in practice by other local governments as a proof of concept. This is not a gesture, it is a practical middle ground for residents who do not need as much space as a full second bin, or who cannot afford one. You upgrade your bin, you get more space, less litres in a second bin, and common sense should say it would cost less. A practical, affordable bridge for people who cannot make work with what they have right now. That is what this motion is, and the community who raised it deserve to have it treated seriously. Arguments may also be made that a 240 litre bin option contradicts the state government's waste strategy and the city's own plans. I want to be direct about this. Again, as the city's officer's response notes, the City of Cockburn and the City of Joondalup offers this service within their waste strategies, and it seems, unless I'm wrong, they are doing all this without consequences from the Director General. So by this standard, if a 240 litre upgrade option was fundamentally incompatible with a good waste strategy, those councils would not exist as functioning examples. The suggestion that Kwinana alone would face reputational or governance risk for offering a service that established metropolitan councils already offer is not a compelling argument. Another argument that may be made is that there are 0 complaints escalated to management regarding bin capacity. I want my fellow councillors to sit with that for a second, because how many times do people go through the formal system to complain? This is not how a struggling household will communicate. They communicate by going to Bunnings and buying their own second bin, and it's not until the city came around and put stickers on it to tell them off, as I'm sure we're aware was happening. Residents resulting to this is a complaint. It just wasn't filled through a form. The absence of escalated complaints is not evidence that there isn't a need. And the 0.44% increase in second bin uptake, officers' response cites this as a proof demand is low. I would suggest it provides something entirely different. It tells you how many people paid for a second bin, not how many people needed one and couldn't manage or afford it. Those are different numbers. Now, this next argument that might be raised is a very important one, as it's in the officer's response as well. The city acknowledges in this agenda that there are residents who genuinely need more waste capacity. It acknowledges it so clearly that there is a free exemption for those residents that meet the criteria. So the need is real, it's being admitted. What this motion addresses, however, is that gap. The household that is above the exemption threshold. The household who doesn't qualify as vulnerable but still genuinely is struggling with the current system. They are not covered, they're not catered for, and that's exactly who this motion is for. You cannot on one hand acknowledge that some residents genuinely need more capacity and provide it for free to those who qualify, and then on the other hand tell everyone just above that threshold that their only option is a full second bin or staying with what they got. This is not a middle ground. Another argument that could be raised is that the residual concerns about the bin capacity is isolated and commonly based on preference or change resistance rather than substantiated necessity. I want to address this characterization because I find it personally deeply unfair. To suggest that a resident who is struggling with their bin capacity simply hasn't been educated can be perceived as condescending. People have different households, different family sizes, and different circumstances. And if education alone was the answer, then why do we offer people a second bin service? The existence of that service is an acknowledgement that one small bin is not enough. You cannot simultaneously say that one bin isn't always sufficient and then say those who need more space just need to be educated. Another argument that has been raised is the cost modelling, showing that a 240 litre upgrade would cost between $230 and $290 per year, compared to the $233 for a second bin system that we offer right now. Why this is important to note is that this motion instructs the CEO to set a charge that is appropriate and fair, not just appropriate, fair. I place that word in this motion deliberately. If the charge that comes back is higher than a second bin, which is 40 litres less capacity, I would invite my fellow councillors to ask whether that meets the fair standard. An argument that also might be raised is that the current system was already decided on by every single councillor in this room besides me, because I wasn't elected yet. With all due respect, I say, but so what? If we took that standard to absolutely everything, people wouldn't have seatbelts in their cars because that wasn't the norm. If you want forward thinking...
Sorry, Councillor Miller, could I just ask you to sit down? It's under 8.6 of the City Standing Orders, a limitation of duration of speech. All addresses are limited to the maximum of 5 minutes. Extension of time is permissible only with agreement of the majority of the members present.
Can I move to get additional time?
You need to move a specific... So are you moving an additional 4 minutes?
2 minutes.
An additional 2 minutes for Councillor Miller. Someone second? Deputy Mayor? All those in favour? 2 minutes.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm actually on my last page. Now, I published a post on my social media account urging people to send in their beliefs, both for and against, and I would present both of those arguments in the debate right now. Now, while that post was only up for under a week because it couldn't be up before the agenda was public, every single bit of feedback I received via email or comments in relation to the motion was nothing but support. So to end, the city already acknowledges through the existence of a second bin service that one bin is not already enough. That acknowledgement exists. So the question tonight is not whether some households need more capacity. The question tonight is whether we're willing to offer those households a fair, affordable, practical middle ground option. We offer a second bin, a full additional 140 litres offered and accepted. What I'm advocating for is one larger bin, 100 litres more, upgrading when a household already has the same need, a more practical and affordable solution. I believe in this motion. The community has shown their belief in this motion, and I strongly urge my fellow councillors to support this motion with me. Thank you.
Councillor Rouse, did you want to speak for the item? You seconded?
I second it, but I'll be speaking against the item, which I'm entitled to.
So you can speak against.
Thank you, Worship.
Speaking for.
Yeah, thank you, Worship, and I'd like to start by commending Councillor Miller for following up this campaign commitment to advocate for bigger bins, which we've seen in the past, other councillors who have not followed through on those promises, so I congratulate you on that. However, I did second this item just because I think you needed the right to speak, and I'm glad that you did so. However, the officer's recommendation and associated report outlines a comprehensive explanation as to why I, as part of the council, voted unanimously in June 2023, along with 4 other councillors in this chamber, I believe, not the full council, to implement the 3-bin go system, cannot support this motion. That decision involving the 5 of us around this table came after months of careful planning, consideration and due diligence. I knew at the time the decision may not be popular with many in the community, as many do not like change. But we made that decision for the greater good of all Kwinana and the WA environment as a whole. The system has only been in operation for 1 year, and while some residents are still adjusting, I believe we've seen vast improvements in recycling and waste minimisation. Residents have adjusted and the majority have accepted and adapted to the smaller bin. Councillor Miller's election pamphlet bio stated, "If elected, I will fight to have bigger bins by pushing for increased bin sizes at the next review and pushing for a proper review of waste services to meet the real needs of growing families." That was in his bio that went out to every household. He also stated on Facebook post during his election campaign that here in Kwinana, the only option is to add another small 140 litre bin for $233. And he added, "That's okay if pickups are weekly, but if we move to fortnightly without change, families will be left under pressure." They were his own words. And I agree in part with both of those statements. His fight should be at the next review. And $233 a year for another 140 litre bin is okay for now, as we have not decided if we will move to a fortnightly general waste collection. Decisions about issues such as this should be made after careful consideration of the facts presented to councillors, where proper reviews of waste services to meet the real needs of growing families are conducted. Next year, we will be establishing a policy for waste service charges, and then in 2027-28, the city will be undertaking a FOGO feasibility assessment. It is during these stages and not before when we should be considering upgrades and add-ons, weekly versus fortnightly collections, the introduction of FOGO and the overall system of performance and community feedback. And those should be informed decisions based on best practice and not because of any campaign, slogans or loud, angry Facebook comments. Kwinana's current system is efficient, cost-effective and flexible. If households need more capacity, they can have it. If households have genuine needs, they can be catered for. Those needs may be due to medical reasons or other complex issues, but it's not because they just generate too much waste. The current system and the change associated with adding an extra bin is designed to disincentivise residents from generating more waste, and we should not be enabling households to disregard best practice policies. Without knowing the cost and environmental implications to the city and what the new charge for a 24 litre bin to residents would be, it is difficult to make an assessment whether this would be a viable option for the city and or its residents. Councillor Miller is obviously very passionate, but we need to stick to our best practice process. And so without proper review of the current system and without a relevant feasibility study, I cannot support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rouse. Do we have many people that do want to speak?
Sorry, I also just wanted to ask some questions.
Sure. turn your microphone on. Stand up, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify some points in the report. So it said that by moving to providing the option for a larger red bin, that there wouldn't be alignment within the state government waste strategy. So I just wanted to see how the provision of an extra 140 litre bin aligns with that state strategy.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Feasey. Thank you for the question. The strategy is to disincentivise the production of general waste and to incentivise recycling. So at this point, the council took the decision to follow the best practice guideline and have a 140 red bin for general waste and 240s for the other waste streams. Now that is the average. It's across the whole waste system for the city of Kwinana. So that's how everything's priced. It's based on the capacity of people. If there are people who are generating more of that waste than those bins can manage, the whole waste system is a user pay system. It's averaged. But if people are generating more waste in their dwelling, then they will need to pay for that. So that's a realistic outcome. If they're generating more waste, they need to pay for that extra capacity that they're generating beyond what they receive through their current waste charge.
Thank you. And I think I could have asked that question a little bit clearer. I guess my point is, how does the provision of an extra 140 litre bin, is that supported by the state strategy?
The strategy is to deliver a waste service that's effective in terms of managing general waste. So in terms of what we're trying to do, your default provision does that, and allows for additional waste. So the strategy does allow for that, but the intention is to provide people with that default waste service, which is what we've done.
I do have two more questions, if permissible.
Sure.
So there's fee exemptions for if folks need an additional red bin for medical needs and hardship. How are those fee exemptions assessed, and have you had any applications?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Feasey. Yes, so we certainly have a process for determining those exemptions. So for vulnerable residents, we have medical assessment process, which is a discount, and financial hardship, which is there's no cost involved. So they must, for medical, they must have submitted an additional bin for medical reasons request, and they need to have evidence of their medical requirements causing the need for additional facilities, and that exemption only exists while that medical situation exists. So at the end of that period, they return back to the normal system. Financial hardship is similar. There's an application process which will go through to the city's rates department, and they will need to provide the Medicare card listing all household members. Where reasonable waste avoidance measures have been exhausted, they can be entitled to an additional 140 general waste bin at no additional cost for up to 24 months, and then we review it again.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just to add to what Mr. Barron said. So we've got 33 people which have a medical exemption, but no financial hardship applications.
Another question, Councillor Penny.
Yeah, there is a lot of complexity actually, and I think like in community understanding the way that waste is charged and what it looks like to average that over a community. Because on the surface you might say, correct me if I've got this wrong, but it's $240 for an additional red bin, and then if we're looking at a proposed larger bin, basically the cost difference is most probably about $60 in price difference. So, but the actual financial impact on the city by moving to sort of like a hybrid kind of model where you might have an opt-in for a larger red bin, but you've also got the option for two small red bins. there's some financial implications around that. Could you speak to that? Because it's quite complex, the modelling.
Thank you for the question. Yes, it is quite complex, and there was a lot of work done.
Sorry, Mr. Barron, could you microphone?
Oh, sorry, it should be on. Oh, did I turn it off? Sorry. Through you, Mayor Feasey. Thank you. Yes, the modelling is quite complex. It's a big service to operate within the city. A lot of that expert modelling was done prior to council deciding to implement the current service. That costing of the, I guess, the service, the bin charge, is worked out with industry as well in terms of what the cost to deliver, have the vehicles operate, the disposal costs, what it's costing us to actually dispose of the general waste through the energy from waste facility or into landfill for things that we can't burn. So those costs have to be tested in the marketplace, and we have to go through very careful assessment of those overall costs to measure it out and average it across the entire service. So when we start adjusting things by making ad hoc changes in terms of putting on a different bin size, and that can adjust the tonnages that we collect, and therefore the pricing that we have to charge overall and across the organisation.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just to summarise what Mr. Barron's saying, to put it in quite simple terms, 140 litre bins goes across the whole of the waste network. So it's an average across that. When you have residents which have if they had a 240 litre bin, they would be putting a lot of waste into that. It's in a smaller area, so they can't spread can't spread the cost or the weight over. So the 140 is based upon an average, and we know what that average weight is. But if you have someone taking a 240, they are going to generate more waste, and the cost of disposing of waste is expensive. That's why it's a high cost.
Thank you. And just to, I just want to reiterate your point across, and I think the key point that you've raised there, it's about the weight. So you can do the costing on 2 140 bins, and that's a modelling across the city. But when you throw a 240 red bin into the mix, it throws the modelling, the costing out, and that's where you lose your economy of scale. Correct. Is that correct? Yeah.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you have a question, Councillor Sargent?
Thank you, Mayor Feasey. Can I just ask the city, do we have anybody that is using the hardship application at this time?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as I previously said, no.
Not in the bins, in the normal rate hardship. Do we have anyone that's applied for?
No.
No? Okay.
Any other questions? I have a question of Councillor Miller. Councillor Miller, can you just let me know whether does your household have more than one 140 litre bin, just out of interest? Yeah. I know that Councillor Acker wants to speak against, so I might just suspend Standing Order 9.6, Order of Call in Debate, to allow Councillor Acker to speak. Could I have someone second that? Seconded Councillor Rouse. All those in favour? Councillor Acker?
Not in standing orders.
Oh, you still need to stand.
Okay, thanks.
You can speak against.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I too would like to commend Councillor Miller for putting the notice of motion forward. I think it shows a lot of integrity, so well done to you. However, I do not agree with it. And I've got a speech. I'm not going to read the speech. I'm going to more speak from the heart because I consider myself to be converted on this topic. Really didn't care before, to be blunt and honest. Prior to your arrival on councillor, we had the opportunity as councillors to visit the Canning Vale Resource Recovery Centre and the Kwinana Waste to Energy Facility. And I was quite overwhelmed by the amount of waste that goes to these kind of places. It was there, I asked a lot of questions of the staff, because for me it was like, okay, why? Why do I need to change? Why does the system need to change? Because I didn't understand. I'll be very honest. The intent of that smaller bin is to encourage households to separate their waste streams properly, recycling green waste. So you end up with less waste going to landfill. Tips are finite. They don't last forever. Okay, we're lucky enough to have the Kwinana waste to energy stream here in Kwinana, but all councils aren't like that. So myself, our household, we had to change our habits, especially me, not so much my wife, but she's a recycling Nazi, but for myself. So those smaller bins aren't intended to make life difficult for residents. They're intended to encourage recycling. That's why they're smaller, okay? And I understand that some households will need more capacity. That's available to them through the current system. So we don't need to change it. The city is already committed to review. So I think we need to allow this system to mature, get the review, and if there's changes to be made, that's when you make them. I think it's too soon in the process. So just in closing, having seen firsthand how modern waste facilities operate and understanding the direction of the state policy, I believe we need to allow the current system to mature before considering any changes that would increase waste generation and reduce those recycling outcomes. And for that reason, I'll support the officer's recommendation. So, thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak for or against? Yes.
This is a difficult topic in some ways because on the surface it looks like a simple choice, just let people have a bigger bin. But what we've heard tonight and what we see in the report is actually a really detailed approach to this. Like our waste team, I think is, we're so fortunate we've got one of the best teams in the state. They repeatedly display so much integrity, so much depth and thorough work around the way that they model these things to the point that the city of Kwinana is a positive glowing example to surrounding local governments. Our waste strategies have been used in briefings at other local governments as a best case gold standard example, and it's the kind of thing that other cities and councils aspire to. So in that I have a lot of faith and pride around the work that has gone into this. I feel that we do have an obligation as well to follow the state standard around this. This is a difficult teething time, but there is something around the city's leadership in this space, that we are recognised as leaders in sustainability and environmental stewardship, and this is where we have to be leaders and support our community to adjust to these changes, as many other local governments across the state are adjusting to these changes. There were examples used of some local governments that have not taken up the charge, that have kind of faltered around this. But I'd be really proud to say if we can sort of stick to our guns and really give it a good go, to have a look at the 2027-2028 review when all of the data is in place, and keep working to be that best case example. Of course, as we progress, there's opportunities to review, but I really think that we have to back the state standard in this and continue our legacy of leadership.
Thank you, Councillor Penny. Councillor Sargent.
Thank you, Mayor Feasy. I just want to say what everybody else said. Good on you, really well worded motion and standing up for what you believe in. Like you said, you weren't there, you didn't have all the briefings of the historic background. I think one of the other big drivers that the other councillors have not touched on was plastic bags. When they said, oh, we're not having plastic bags, remember how everyone was really, really upset that you were not going to have a plastic bag in your house? I looked at this as going, we were going to be the forefront of making that change to go when our great-grandchildren want to live in Kwinana, that we have not, the waste streams, having the waste-to-energy plant, that Kwinana thought forwards to go, we have just not buried mountains and mountains and mountains of this waste in our land, and we were going to try and set that example, and this was going to be that change point. In any change point in any kind of history, you change the colour of a football team and the universe collides, let alone change the size of someone's bin, but to follow the process, there was the science behind it, but I also saw that driving factor of that sustainable future, that the world cannot keep generating waste at the level that we are, and to see the city and, as Councillor Penny said, the waste team, the officers, no one took this lightly. Everyone knew that no resident was going to be impressed that the bins were changed, but when do you leave it for 10 years and create a bigger problem for the next generation, or do you stand up and go, something does need to change and let's try and do it the best way we can for our community? So that is why I'm not going to be voting with you tonight.
Anyone else want to say? No? In that case, I will move to resume Standing Order 9.6. I'm seconding that. Second to Councillor Wood. All those in favour? Motion carried. Based on that, Councillor Miller, you have the opportunity to close debate.
Thank you, Your Worship. I promise you this is going to be a lot shorter than my opening. First, of course, I do want to thank Councillor Rouse. Obviously, he did speak against it, which obviously you should do your own due diligence. But I do thank you for giving me the opportunity to, I guess, deliver on an election commitment. Also, thank you as well for your, and Councillor Sargent for the kind words. I do respect every argument that has been made because I assume they've all been made in good faith. But I want to ask everyone in this chamber just for a second to look past the technical language just for a moment and remember who it is that we are talking about here, which are struggling families. I've been told that this motion is premature. I've been told to wait for the review, but I was elected in 2025 on a commitment which Councillor Rouse rightfully pointed out. The wording has changed, but I think the core argument is the same. You may believe Kwinana will be an outlier if we go with this, but I say Coburn and Joondalup found a way, so if they can, why can't we? You may believe the cost doesn't stack up. I say the motion says fair, and if the charge isn't fair, then it's not true to what the motion is asking. Tonight is one vote, one motion, and one opportunity to help in building bridges and not barriers for residents of the city. So I want to close finally with this, a reminder that our legislative requirement to having our minds open to being changed. So I'm asking every councillor in this chamber simply to do what they think is right for the city of Kwinana. I believe in this motion, and I strongly urge my fellow councillors to support this motion with me. Thank you.
Just before we put it to the vote, I actually have a question in relation to what you've just said. I'm just wondering if you could just explain to me why a struggling family would create more waste, because that's kind of what you've just said.
My point is that if you're a large family who might not afford a second bin.
So I guess just for clarity, a large family as opposed to a struggling family.
Okay, then do you want me to correct my wording?
I'm just seeking clarification for what you.
Okay, then a struggling family that is larger, and they're struggling because they can't afford a second bin.
Okay. I'll put to the vote all those in favour of the officer's recommendation.
No, so all you're doing is you vote for the motion and then, yeah, whether it gets up or not.
Okay, so all those in favour for the motion? Against? Motion lost. Item 20 is nil. Late and urgent business there is nil. Reports of elected members. Deputy Mayor.
Nothing to report, Your Worship.
Councillor Acker. Councillor Brown. Councillor Miller. Councillor Penny. Councillor Rouse. Councillor Sargent.
I have done all the duties as performed of me.
Councillor Wood.
I'd just like to mention the mural being painted on the Wellard Community Centre. I popped over there to have a look at it and encourage the volunteers who were painting it. And it's looking quite delightful. And what I... Oh. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. Now I've lost my train of thought. The community involvement was fantastic, and I asked what do the V's stand for in the painting, and it's volunteers, and they wanted it to be all about the volunteers, even the faces. They just wanted blank faces, so it wasn't any particular person in that. It was the anonymous. So it's the volunteers, basically representing just the volunteers. And I just I thought it was really great that there were so many people volunteering to paint it. It won't be finished for quite a while, I believe.
I believe it's finished.
Oh, it's finished already, is it? I thought it needed to wait for 3 weeks or something and then have coatings put over it.
I may need a graffiti coating, but the actual mural is finished.
I think that was all I was going to say, except for the loop trail that no one's mentioned, the launch of the loop trail, where some people that I know had a wonderful time sitting in, I don't know what the machine's called.
Bobcat, Cherry?
In the Bobcat, having a little play with it, and I didn't think they were going to get out. That was all.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. There's nothing on item 23. Mayoral announcements. Since the last meeting of council, we actually had Anzac Day, which was very well attended. The dawn service was very well attended by, I would estimate, about 1,000 people. Anyone think not? It's always a great turnout, especially to the dawn service. Not as many people to the 10:30 service, but again, it was well attended. We've had a couple of citizenships since then. Could I acknowledge that one of those citizenships we made the CEO a citizen and his wife. So congratulations on becoming Australian citizen, Mr. CEO. What else do we have? Again, I painted the red shirt on the mural, which in fact was a part of Volunteer Week activities. Along with Councillor Brown, we planted some trees down in Homestead Ridge on Sunday. There was an absolute fantastic turnout by the community. There was about 60, 70 people there. And I believe in the end they planted 1,100 trees. What else? Today today was the launch of National Reconciliation Week, and the city hosted a virtual breakfast of the actual reconciliation breakfast held at Optus Stadium, very well attended by many community members, and I think that is about all. So based on that, there are no confidential items. I declare the meeting closed at 7:20. Thank you for attending.